Hey everybody, how are you doing? It's great to see you. We made it to yet another Wednesday. I am so glad you are here. So this is really great on this very hot July, basically all across North America that I know at least. What about you guys out there? Has it been very hot today? Let me know when you get a chance. And let's see who we have here today. We have Roy, Color Graphics, all the way from New Jersey. Great to see you. Wendy Stevens, how are you? All the way from Dallas, Texas area. We have Raffin Customs, Bobby, all the way from Cape Cod. We have Colette, all the way from the Atlanta area. Great to see you. And let's see, who else do we have today? We have Brad, all the way from Manitoba. Great to see you, sir. And then we have Mr. Dan. How's it going? All the way from Indianapolis. Great to see you. Raul, fellow Jersey guy. How's it going, my friend? So glad to see you. So this is quite a turnout. It's so great to see everyone. Hope everyone is having a great week so far. I don't know about you guys, but it seems like time is just flying by. It's like I can't even pull the reins anymore. Are you guys feeling that way, or is it just kind of, do you feel like things are going slow? I guess time is a construct made by man, right? So there really is no such thing as time, but still, whatever it is, I feel like it's going way too fast. Bobby says yes, and also Wendy says yes. So true. And so great to see you there, Mr. Raul. So yeah, it just seems like everything is just going so quickly. Before you know it, it's Friday. And that's quite scary. Get a little bit of water. And that's got to stay hydrated. I made an amazing juice today with cabbage, spinach, carrots, celery, lime, ginger, and apples. It was really potent, but I feel good. That's what you need. That's something that could really hydrate us. So I'm looking for my glasses. Check. Palette knife. Check. And so now what we're going to do is I want to touch on in painting, whether it be airbrush or pastel or oils, regardless, everything is all about patience, right? And slowing things down. Colette, oh yes, ginger, definitely. And this was like that real potent kind of ginger that kind of makes it like hot in your throat as it goes down. But I felt the anti-inflammatory contents really help, or properties really helping me. Not speaking, but helping me feel like, a lot less inflamed, a lot healthier, that sort of thing. So thanks for that there, Colette. And so now, and it's so true, right, Wendy? We have to slow things down. And so we have our paper towels. So I know there's people out there that says, wow, Tim's doing this. That has nothing to do with airbrush. Baloney, baloney, and baloney. Because everything is related. Whether you're working with pastel or oil paints or acrylic or airbrush paints, it's all about pigment. Pigment suspended in something to put on the canvas or the paper to mix it and put it on there. That's all it's about. But in this painting, this was done with an airbrush underpainting in India ink, and then I put shellac over it. And that wasn't good enough, right? And then after the shellac, I went in with Tim Gore's Lifeline colors, like this is light olive gold, and put that in and painted this, and it looked like it was on its way to be and airbrush painting, right? But no, my initial goal was to do this in oil painting because it had that 19th century feel, and I wanted to stay with that. Coming over with very light layers of uh, of oils and doing glazes, I'm able to get a type of glow that you wouldn't normally be able to get. And so I'm doing this to open up your possibilities, right? Because there might be times where you might want to do impasto techniques, and you can do that with a tube of paint, but you can't do that with a bottle of liquid. So, but you can work together. We're in a very special time right now with digital, with AI, with so many different tools that are at our disposal right now to create paintings. And airbrush wasn't available 200 years ago, 300 years ago. And that is really amazing, you know? So it's very, very important. So someone says I'm losing volume, no sound. Just give me, I think that might be on your end, Bobby. So everyone just let me know how the sound is going, because I think we should still have sound. And I think that's on your end, Bobby, if I'm not mistaken. So I would check your, yeah, so definitely, Bobby. Okay, so you must have hit the mute button or something. So I'm glad you're back though, sir. All right, fantastic. All right, so I have my paintbrushes. Now, in this painting, and I have this great ability to zoom in this painting we have these little ruffles, and they could drive a man crazy or a woman crazy when trying to paint this, you know? And thanks everybody for Brad and Color Graphics for the sound check. I'm glad you are able to hear it, Mr. Bobby. And Dan, thank you so much. Dan says she's looking good. Also love the candle and the curtains. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. We're going to do some kind of boring stuff here. I want to kind of work on these ruffles, and just to show that, you know, things are not too hard. We just have to slow down, right? And that's when it comes, it's the same thing with airbrush. You're solving the same problems. So if you slow things down, you'll be able to paint anything. And that I feel. So I'm going to get my reference, and basically I'm working on each ruffle right now. And I'm just going to continue doing that. So I'm going to zoom. Let me get rid of me. You don't need to see me anymore. And let's see. There, I am gone. And now I can definitely come in there. Brad says those ruffles were designed to drive a man crazy. Definitely. I hear that. The hand that rocks the cradle rules the world, so to speak. Definitely. And so, like, slowing this down means a lot of things. And the first thing is there's this little gray that's right here. And what I can do is extend that. But the barrier of entry for oil paints is relatively inexpensive. If anyone ever wanted to, you know how much would it cost to go ahead and do that, please let me know. It'd be my pleasure, because, you know, airbrush and oil paints really go together. I mean, big time. And you see, I'm just slowing things down, trying to not worry about any of the surroundings right now, just worrying about just some of these aspects of just this area right here. And the same thing, so let's say if you're working in airbrush and you have a light color and you have a dark color, You definitely want to have a separate airbrush for the light color and a separate airbrush for the dark color. Same thing goes when working with oil paints or anything. You want to have a designated brush for each. So right here, this is where we are. And just staying on that. And it takes a lot of concentration to stay on it, you know, because our minds really just wander, don't they? Wendy says, what medium are you using with the oil? A lot of times I love using just straight old mineral spirits, but I really like this stuff. This is my go-to right here. It's called Solvent-Free Gel, and it's by Gamblin, and it's non-toxic, has hardly any smell, but it does dry a little bit quicker. So your paintings will dry, I would say, within 24 hours, as opposed to, let's say, if you didn't. Hey, Mr. Leahy, how's it going, sir? Great to see you. So glad you're here from Ohio. Well, originally from the Boston area, hailing out of Ohio. And then we'll come over here. And we just have to stick with this area. I'm not going to give up or even get distracted. So it's so easy to get distracted. I mean, it could happen to any of us, and it happens to me a lot. So if I just stay in this area, there's a good chance I'm going to come out on top, as opposed to moving around and trying to do it a lot. Oh, thank you, Steve. Steve says it's going really, really good. So thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Oh, wait a minute. This is no, maybe Steve's not talking about the painting. Is it? Are you talking about the painting? How's your daughter doing with the with your new grandchild on the way? That's definitely probably what you're talking about. Hey, Mark, how's it going? Oh, great. Mark says she reminds him of the princess in Braveheart. Wow, great. Thank you, sir. And so let me see. Oh, fantastic, Steve. Congratulations. What an amazing blessing. That is so fantastic. So, your God is blessing your family, and I love that. That is so fantastic. I rejoice in that, sir. And that's real success. Very successful. Not to mention your art success, which is a wild success, but also uh, with your family, and that's so great to see. And just trying to stay with it is not easy. Right here, just kind of blend that over. And you have several brushes for different colors. And I want some luminosity, if that's a word. And I'm just going to stay in this area. And also, you have to notice, I have to notice, that the values are very close to one another. It's very important. And I could see, like in this area, that I'm a little far away in value, so I gotta bring them back a little bit. Tone it down a notch, as Everall would say. See, we all want to see contrast, right? That's the main thing. That's what we want. We want contrast. And oh, so glad to. Oh, thank you, Steve. I appreciate that with the comment on the lace. And oh, and thank you that the painting's coming out awesome. I appreciate that, sir. So it's great to see Mr. Mark. And Brad says, gotta love it when the plan comes together. His daughter is expecting the second grandchild end of the month. That's amazing, Brad. That is so amazing. Congratulations. I love that. And that's like real amazing. See how I kind of bring down the contrast a little bit, because we want to see contrast, and that's so difficult, right, to see that. Now I'm going to zoom out and just see how that is looking, and I'm happy with it. I'm not ecstatic, but I'm happy with it so far. Bring this over. And the great thing is, just like an airbrush, if you put more pressure, you pull back on that trigger, it's going to get darker. And if you pull that trigger lightly, it's going to have a lighter application. Same thing with oil painting or anything else. The lighter you apply the brush, the lighter the application of the paint on the surface. So even though I may have a mid-tone, if I apply this super lightly, it's going to actually have a light value, which is great. I'm going to come in with this darker color here. Dan says, so Steve, should we expect you to do a live painting of your grandchild in the near future? That's so cool. I could imagine, definitely. Wendy says, Tim, do you leave some of the airbrush show through, or will you go over the painting? Oh, well, this is basically one layer. So if we look at this, great question. If we look at this is the first layer, and I do leave on purpose some of the gray showing through. And that's important because, like, even her eye here, that's some of the gray of the paper. So it's important to, I don't show too much of the underpainting show through unless I really need it. Like, if you look at this right here, this part of the candle, right? You can definitely see that the underpainting is there. So, and there you can see the gray of the paper. So it definitely, if it doesn't need to be covered, I won't. So that's basically my approach. But always try and be as economical with the paint as possible, right? So if I could use the paper instead of painting, I think that is much better. So at this point, I'm probably going to do some solvent and see how that works, because I like how thin that is. Let's see. And it's all about economy in so many different ways. Economies of brush strokes, economy of value, economy of color. It's really all about that. And Wendy says, did you put the shellac on the bottom? Yes, so I shellac the whole paper. If I shellac only part of the paper, then you may have some weirdness going on. Some of the paper might shrink and some won't, and then you can really have some issues. And like I said, this will drive you crazy if we let it, but we're not going to let it. But we are slowing things down so we can conquer this, or do the best job we can. Exactly, Brad. So uh, it's India ink over, I mean shellac over the India ink, and then after that we go in with the color, correct? And I like using the Lifeline colors by Createx. I don't think anything comes close. And slowing things down really helps because otherwise I would definitely get lost and my details will be like meh, you know, and I don't want my details to be meh. And I'll use a different brush. What I do is, so I've been painting since 11 o'clock this morning working on something else. And just like in the middle of the day, if you're airbrushing all day, you might just take time to just clean it and do a reboot. And that's what I do with my brushes. I'll do a reboot if all of a sudden, you know, they're all like messy and I don't know which is light and which is dark, that sort of thing. So that's important to always do a reboot. And that means I'll just wash my brushes in mineral spirits and then just wipe them and start over. Dry them, of course. Okay. See here how white that is? And that's what I need to adjust. So I'm going to get a different brush. And I think I'm gonna go to mineral spirits. It's a lot like when you're working in acrylic and you just water them down a little bit. And we just need to stick with this the best we can. Of course, the painting isn't about her ruffles, but we have to get the ruffles looking like ruffles. And of course, they're affected by light and shade like anything else. So now we're moving over to this one right here. And there's some, so I'm going to zoom in on my reference. And then we have this one right here. Then we have this little one. So right here we can probably calm this down. Get rid of the white. And that is actually some of the underpainting showing through. Hey, Mr. Todd, how's it going? Great to see you. So right after the India ink is over, I'm happy with the underpainting, and the underpainting has to be lighter than your target color because you have to allow the other layers to darken it. So if you get the exact color, you will darken and lose the value that you're trying to get. So your underpainting should be a little bit lighter than your target. Otherwise, it will hurt you. So right here we have a little bit of a shadow, but we also, and that's the funny thing, is that we have to work on this dark value right here as well. And so we have, let me see if I get that back. Yep, right on the money. And so you have to work in the dark along the lace there. And this right here is the lace, but it's kind of seeing through to her breast area. Not her breast, but just above her breast. I think that's still considered her breast. And you see when you go thin, you know, using mineral spirits, it doesn't cover. So I'm going to be using the gel by Gamblin right now, because I want to cover this. And so what I like to do is I put my cursor right where I am painting. Mark says he has to go, but he has to say it's criminal that an artist of your caliber has only 44,000 subs. So I sub. Mark, thank you. Thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate your encouragement. I really hope to see you soon. And, you know, hopefully people will catch on, right, Mark? But thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a great week. And once again, that was such a great thing to say. I'll take that with me the rest of the week. Trust me, that is really, really music to my ears. We can only work as hard as, you know, we can only give our 100%, you know, and that's it, you know. We're just going to give it 100% and let God do the rest. So here's the tricky part right here. And it's so tricky, right? We have to stay in the game with this. Then it's a little bit lighter right here. It will come together, hopefully. You know, with all this work that we're doing with these ruffles. Perhaps we can go a little bit darker. Take care, Mark. And one of the reasons why, you know, because part of me was like, do I go ahead and do oil paint on my live stream, which is normally airbrush? And, you know, that was something that I thought about and thought hard and didn't want to alienate, you know, current subscribers, blah, 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 and all that. But then I thought, you know, it's important to it's very important to give the, you know, the full scoop, you know, on what, you know, what painting is. Wow, Brad, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I appreciate that so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your friendship, and it's just so great working with you. And Brad just finished a one artist show, and that was in his native Manitoba, which was so fantastic. And he had like press from television to, I mean, it was really incredible. Television to radio, and I mean, just goes to show you what sticking to it will do. And we just can't get discouraged, you know. And Brad is living proof, you know, that if we stick with it, good things will happen. Now we're coming into this area right here. This comes down, and then we have a little dark, little remnant piece right there. Now this is a tricky area. This going into here is kind of tricky. Ah, thank you. Brad says that means a lot to me. Brad says that he couldn't have done it without my teaching. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. But the honor is definitely all mine to be called your teacher. I always say I don't teach art, I create artists. And if my goal is to have all of my students not only creating artwork that is above and beyond what they thought they could do, but also to the point of exhibiting and having a reputation for being a fine artist. That's my goal. That's my end goal. Teaching anybody is I want them to be an exhibiting painter, and that is my goal from the very start. Even my little 9-year-old student that I have, which she's amazing, and you know, my goal is for her to be exhibiting and to make money from her artwork. And anyone who studied with me knows that's the end game, is to make money, because these art supplies are expensive. I don't have to tell anyone that, that's for sure. So very tricky area, this one right here. Right here. And that's what tonight's live stream is to have patience, not only with an individual painting, but to have patience with your career. And it's kind of funny, do I call art a career? It's more of a vocation. And of course it does become a career if that's how you're making ends meet, or trying to. And but it's not easy. But as far as a vocation, because it's something you would do for free, even if you weren't making any money. And I would be doing it for free. I have been doing it for free in the past. I mean, I have made money from my artwork since a little kid, but as far as making any real money, I haven't yet. But yeah, I would do it for free, no doubt about it. So right here it is, this little dark area right here. And it's a little darker than normal, so right here. And then we have a lighter area, and we'll just do a little stippling action here. Right here. Not an easy task. But see, the thing is, with this lace, we're seeing some of that lace. It's translucent, and we're seeing some of her chest behind it, right? And that's making things interesting. Now I'm going to come in with this darker, no, you know what, we'll come in later. I just want to continue with the momentum here of bringing this over. And I keep my cursor, because I'm working from the computer, I keep my cursor really close to the area I'm working on so I don't get sidetracked. So now we pretty much did that. Am I 100% happy? No, but I can go back. But now I'm going back to something that I worked hard on. Is someone going to say, hey, that lace doesn't look quite right? I don't think so. And, but you know what? I could say when I look back at this painting, I gave it my all. And that's important that we're able to do that. And again, I'm actually glad that I went ahead and went against, you know, being afraid to go ahead and do something totally different. Now, people might say, wow, Tim, why are you going into oil painting all of a sudden? Well, this is where I started. I was oil painting since I was 13, and I had 6 years of intense study in oil painting. 6 years. And that's a lot of years. And more studying in oil painting than anything, more than pastel, more than anything that I've done. So, you know, this is basically my pedigree is oil painting. It's just life took me in different directions for whatever reason. And there were times when I did not work in color. And there were personal reasons why I didn't work in color, you know, very personal reasons. And then I started working in color and pastel. Mr. Ryan, how's it going? Great to see you all the way from Canada. How are you, sir? I'm so glad you're here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this aside and just show you what I do is when I get overwhelmed with my paintbrushes. So that's how she's coming. And you know, if you look at it from far away, that looks pretty darn good. I'm happy. And that's what it is, you know, for us to really slow it down. And if we slow it down and just worry about one ruffle at a time, we can do this. And this applies to airbrush and watercolor and pastel and everything. So, you know, don't phone anything in. Just, you know, just go at it, you know, full force. Give it 110%. And if you're 110% not perfect, then you know what? It builds on the next painting and the next painting and the next painting. Ah, thank you, Ryan. Ryan says she's coming out very nice. I appreciate that so much. And so I'm going to put this aside and show you what I do. Now, I get inundated with a lot of different things. And so paper towels, I have all this nasty paper towels. Never ever, you know, worry about sacrificing paper towels, you know, when it comes to painting. You know, you never should have a mess. And, you know, a lot of times people try and use the same, artists try and use the same paper towels over and over again. And then it gets on their hands and it gets on their clothes and all that stuff. Hey, Mr. Grandpa Leahy, yes, so cool. Man, that is so great. So what I do is, so see all my brushes, they have all different colors on it. I was working on a background, so these brushes right here, they're completely toast, so I'm not going to use them. They have a lot of oil paint on them. But you see these here, it looks like we have about 7. And so 2 things I'm going to do. The first thing is I'm going to wipe off the handles. So yeah, when you're painting and it just gets overwhelming and you don't know what colors on what brush and all that fun stuff, you just wipe these down. And as you can see, I was using a gray, and the bottom of, see, one of these turpentine cups are really good. It's called a brush tank, and I got it at Hobby Lobby. The company is Speedball. It retails for $5.49, and it has a little mesh there. And I'll show you where the mesh comes in. And when you clean your brushes, the paint actually sinks to the bottom, and you're left with good mineral spirits. So I'm just going to wipe the handle of all these brushes, and I'm going to start over, because what happens is you use the same brush for the dark as for the light, and then all of a sudden you have mud. And you want your colors to always stay clean, whether it's airbrush or what have you. Okay, so I'm just going to rub it here, and then I'm going to go, and if I see any paint, I just rub it along there. And you see there's a good one, and we'll just continue it. So we just rub this along here. Now this is odorless mineral spirits. It's called Nude by Utrecht, which is a company out of Brooklyn. And a lot of people use Gavar, and I might go to that. But if it's twice expensive, I'll go back to Utrecht, because it's mineral spirits. It's not rocket science. And it's odorless. Doesn't mean that it's not bad for you. It's just odorless, you know. Whether you're working in acrylic, you have to keep your brushes clean during the process, right? You don't want to mix colors that you had before, and then you're going to make mud. Remember this, color science, the more pigments you have together, the closer it comes to mud. So if you have 2 hues, you're closer to mud. If you have 3 hues, you're even closer to mud. So that's why, and I'm going to give you a little bit of, breadcrumb here, a little bit of a secret in color theory. And this is an avant-garde point of color theory. But one color cannot be 2 hues at once. So when you go ahead and add a complementary color, and that means on the other side of the spectrum, you're creating mud. So you're not de-emphasizing that color, you're just getting it closer to mud. Now if you go ahead and mix your color that's right next to it on the color wheel, then what you're doing is you're not creating mud, a little bit, but since those colors are so close to another, they're going to maintain their chroma, right? The hues are going to maintain their purity. But once you start playing around with using complementary colors, you're doing a disservice to your color. Just a little bit of information for you. So when you have blue and you're gonna reach for that orange, just stop for a moment. If you have purple and you just want to get a little bit of that yellow, just stop for a minute and ask yourself, is that the best decision? Is there another way you can do it? Is there another way you can do it without killing the wavelength of the color? Always think outside the box. Always, always. So important. And I think, let's see, this one right here. Okay, so now it's always hard. Wow, Colette, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that so much. That helps amazingly the channel. And I'm just so thankful. It's so great to have you as a student, Colette, and a friend. You are just amazing, and I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for all your friendship and support over the years. It means so much to me. And so I'm going to keep the blue ones as my darks, and I am going to keep the green ones as my mid-tone. And look at that. Say, I'm kind of thinking, right? That's finally thinking. And Colette, thank you so much for all your help and your support. It means everything to me. And here's one I broke. I kind of like this. Okay, so it's back to painting. I did have a brown one here. I don't know what I did with it. Okay, let's get back. Bring this young lady back here. And let's get ready to rumble. And let's see. So we're working on ruffles here. And you can see, ordered your 4021 today. You know what? I haven't tried it, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. Can't wait. I know that Dennis over there at Createx is doing great things, so I'm excited. I know it's going to be a huge improvement because they wouldn't roll it out if it wasn't. Let's see. Gotta make sure I have the right one. Okay, so we're right here. Much better with a cleaner brush here. And ooh, we have some really nice light color right here. Maybe I can go a little bit brighter. Bring this up. I don't really feel that tip dry is much of an issue with me. You know, I'm just used to picking at it anyway, so I pick at it almost, you know, right? We kind of pick at it almost like habitually at this point. So even when I don't have tip dry, I'm still picking at it. So I can't imagine like tip dry getting in the way. Okay, so we have this area right here, and now we have this coming up here, which is quite interesting. And also I have to make sure that I keep the interesting shapes, right? Don't let it get too mushy. And then right here, which is interesting, this one has a little bit of a directional right here. So I'm going to try and do this like so. This one has sort of a clamshell kind of feel to it, So I'm going to put in the light area of this mesh first. Keep my mind on this. It's not easy and it's tedious, but you know, it's necessary to take it to that level. And this is not like my only pass, right? So this is the initial pass, we should say. So now we have the light. Let's go in with the dark. Now, part of me is like, hey, let me go and, you know, work on the next little clamshell area. But you know what? This is going to take a lot of attention. So I'm not going to dial it in. I'm really going to stick with it. Ryan says the 4011 seems pretty good. I'm very curious to see what better is. Yeah, I know there was a disparity between 4012 and 4011 when it came to Wicked, and I think that this is probably going to bridge that gap, because 4011 did do some things. I mean, 4012 did do some good things. And I think they're going to probably work on the good things, employing the good things that 4012 had, and the greatness of 4011. 4012 and 4011. Okay, so now we're just worrying about this area right here. So remember, we're doing this thing where we're going to do the blue brushes as the dark, the green as the middle tone. So let me go ahead and get a blue brush as a detail. I do have some brown ones which are really good. And we can keep them as a dark as well. This one right here. This looks operational. Okay. So now I'm going to come in with kind of a dark flesh color, because what's showing through is her flesh, right? Now, it's the spaces that are just as important as the dots themselves. And Ryan says he's a little skeptical it might be an effect on overall drying times. You know, that's interesting. You know, the whole scratching and everything. And you see how that is going. But remember, this painting started out as an airbrush painting, okay? And if ever you want to cross over, Mr. Dave, how's it going, sir? Great to see you. Thank you so much for that, sir. How was your 4th of July? Was last week 4th of July yet? Or was it exactly 4th of July? Good question. Let me see. Last Wednesday, I believe was the 3rd, right? Yes, how was your 4th of July, sir? So, I am right. And we got this little clamshell thing happening here. And then here we'll do the same thing. Whoop, let's see. Now I always have to remember where I am. So we're right here. And make sure that on my reference, I'm exactly where I need to be. And we're going to come in with some of the lighter color. I know this may be not as exciting as, other live streams, but this is just to let you know that, the boring stuff is just as important. And you know what? The supporting actor and actresses sometimes make the whole movie. Make or break it, right? I think. I feel that way. This over here, and then this comes down and wraps around. And we're almost done with that, believe it or not. We're getting there. I did get a little overzealous right here, so I'm going to come back in with my mid-tone. So don't forget that this month I'm having a special on my custom airbrushes. They're only $149, which is great. And all in all, it was good, Dave. That is fantastic. I'm so glad to see you, my friend. And so I have to keep myself from wandering, right? And then right here, we'll just bring this over. Did you guys hear about Martin Mull? He was an airbrush artist and the actor. Did you guys know of him? I mean, he's just been around, and he was in this one episode of The Golden Girls, and it was so funny. Not funny. It was during like the most depressing time of my life. I was just separated, and life was really just, I didn't even want to go out of the house, right? And I was thinking, is there a way that I don't have to ever go out of the house ever again, right? And thank you, Dave. Dave says $149 is a great price for the customized Badger arrow. Thank you so much. And Mr. Dave owns two of them. But in the Golden Girls, they were giving like Meals on Wheels, and his character, he never wanted to come out of the apartment, and B. Arthur saw this and seen that Martin Mull was this young guy, and she made it her her work to get him out of the apartment. And he played it so well, because I knew exactly what Martin Mull, now it was a rerun, of course, but he played it so well and with such emotion. Like, he knew what it was like to not ever want to leave the house. And I always thought he was just such a great actor, and his work really touched me. But Martin Mull was also an airbrush artist and a painter and everything, and which was really fantastic. Oh, cool. So, Mr. Bobby says he knows he wants another one trying to get ahead of the 8 ball. He really wants to use the one he has versus all the other ones. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. And so, does anyone know who Martin Mull was? I'm going to dedicate today's live stream to Martin Mull. I didn't know him, but I want to dedicate it to him. Just as a thank you for playing that part so well. Okay, so now I'm going to come in with a light color, and what's really cool is you can see I have my dark brushes over here, my medium tones, and my lights. So I want to come in with, what do I want to do? Okay, we're going to come in with the lighter color, and right over here. And again, today's live stream is about sticking with it, right? You know, slowing things down. So that could drive anyone mad, including myself. And so I'm going to come back in with this. Okay, another reason why I think airbrush artists should work in oils. You're going to learn a lot more about pigment. And when you're painting, you're going to see things so much clearer as far as color. And anyone who has ever oil paint know that you learn a lot more about pigment and what pigment does than any other medium. So when I'm like today, I'm painting, I'm airbrushing, no, not airbrushing, I'm painting like 8 hours, right? 8 hours of oil painting. I'll probably be painting tonight until 3 o'clock in the morning because that's just how I roll. I have some work I want to start, and so yeah, so that's basically, you know, where I am, you know. But when I go and airbrush tomorrow, I'm gonna look at color totally different. It's almost like I'm hacking into color right now. Now look at that lace, guys. I mean, it looks like I'm doing mumbo jumbo, right? I mean, it looks like I'm just making a mess, and I feel like I'm making a mess. But in reality, it's a controlled chaos, right? Oh, yes. So you see this painting behind her head? That is a painting that Brad and I are working on in class. This is a painting by Jules Joseph Lafay. He's a 19th century French academic painter, and it's from the same time period as her. I like putting paintings inside paintings to tell stories, and so this is the first layer of, this is probably the second layer of paint, right? So right here, this is the first layer. I'm going to do another layer of paint, and just to like really kind of tie things together, that sort of thing. So I have this lighter color, so my job is to not go too far over here, because if I move too far in an area, I'm going to mess up. It's just human nature. We can't see more than one little area at a time. And so I'm making sure that I don't push my brain too far. And believe me, no one wants to push my brain too far. So now we're moving over a little bit to this next kind of ridge, but there's more going over here. So we have this little shape, comes down. So when we're painting, I just want you guys to really slow it down, right? Slow it down. It's going to speed things up in a sense because you're going to be happier with the painting, whether it's airbrush or watercolor or acrylic or oil painting or pastel. you're going to be much happier with the painting because you're using your eyes, right? You're using your eyes, and that's so crucial. And again, you want the values to be relatively close to one another. If they're not, you're really going to pay the price. So we're at this sort of clamshell one here. This comes over here. And then things start kind of fitting like a puzzle, one into another. And then, you know, she has a cute little dress. But that's our, this is our little supporting actress. Okay, so this is coming here to go back to the, so always have your little marker, so it's that little clamshell thing. Okay, so this is my light, and now we're going to come in with some mid-tone action here. Brad says, slow it down, he says. I can't keep up with him. Most times he's going too fast. You know, it's funny. We all have different speedometers, right? But if we force ourselves to kind of think long, think for a long time, and then be very, very slow to put the paint down. Let me go a little bit darker. And once again, so you guys remember, what was it, like 3 weeks ago? This was the India ink underpainting. And then before that, the week after that, we used the Lifeline colors, which are by Createx. And now we're going over everything with the oil paints. Just creating this translucent volume, but we can only do it a little spot at a time. You can't do it like a face, you know? You have to really slow down. And believe me, I want to be a cowboy like anyone else, you know? I want to be John Singer Sargent, and I just want to knock this out like Bob Ross, you know, happy trees and everything like that. Well, I'm not blessed with that kind of swashbuckling technique. Some people have to concentrate like me. And we got a little bit over here. Now, so we have this, and now we have this over here. Pam, how you doing from Virginia? How's everything? I'm so glad you're here. How are you, Pam? I'm so glad. That is so good. You're feeling well and everything, so that makes me happy. Now, I'm going to use a dark color because there's a crease from the lace onto the dress there. And you can see I'm actually, to be quite honest, I'm going too far, right? I should really slow it down even more, but here I go. I just have to really concentrate. Again, it looks good because I am really concentrating on a specific area. Dan says, Brad, he didn't realize that that was a painting behind her head. He's glad you pointed that out. So, Astral, how are you? All the way from the UK. How are you feeling, my friend? I'm so glad you're here. Great to see you, Astral. So we got some great people here today, and so I'm so happy about that. And the great thing is I can keep going back and forth, but I'm getting the structure correct. And you can see right here is the grade of paper that we're working on. So thank you everyone for hanging out with me on this Wednesday evening. It's always great to see everyone. You all are so amazing. And then I'm going to come in with my yellow brushes and kind of hit some of these other areas. See, I want to like start working in large areas, and that's where, I've been doing this since I was like, what, 13, 14 years old, and I still want to rush it, It's like, it's a flaw, I still want to rush it. I still want to go in like gangbusters. Okay, so not bad, not bad, not great, but not bad. And I'm just going to darken this right here, give some dimension. And just like if I was painting eyebrows, I want to make sure that I'm not equidistant in the same size with any of these ruffles. So tomorrow is Thursday. I want to go to the bookstore. You know what? So you want to hear my secret? So I have a great hack for books. You're going to love this. You keep the amount of books that you have in your house to a minimum, because if you move like I do from time to time, you're not going to want to carry all those books with you, but you still want the information. And no, it's not Kindle. I don't like reading Kindle books. I do like audio books. Those are great, especially when painting. But here's my hack. I go to the bookstore and I bring a pad and paper, or even just my phone, and take a picture. And then what I do is I look through the books, and if I find something I really love, which I do invariably, I write down the ISBN number, you can take a picture of it, the author, and then when I go home, or even sometimes at the bookstore itself while I'm reading it, I will go ahead and go on my library's catalog online and order it from the library. And a lot of times they're brand new books, and I'm able to get that, be one of the first people who actually circulate in the circulation who got the book. So that's my hack. So I really recommend it. So if anyone ever says, "Oh, I want to read this book," I'll just go on my library. And there's a thing called open barring. I know you all know that. And what it is that uh, with your library system, it will, uh, on the computer, you can borrow from any library in your county or sometimes in the tri-county area where you are, and that's just amazing. So there's, if your library doesn't have it, chances are somewhere in your county or the tri-county will have it, and so that's pretty cool. And let's see, Astral says he got his Pache Turbo out today thinking it would make things easier, but it took him 5 hours to dial it in. But when I got it right, oh man, that's wonderful. I wish you did a video of that, Astral. That's great. Dave says he has bins and bins of books, thousands of pounds. My back thanks me every time I move. Me too, and that's why I keep it to a minimum now. So I feel your pain. And, my love for knowledge, a lot of times I go to a library and I see all those books and it makes me sad of the books I won't get to read in my life. And that's kind of scary, when you think about it. So I try to read as much as possible and try and be as multidisciplined as possible. Like I'm really into mathematics and science, and I tend to get a lot of books on that stuff. We're getting pretty good to the point where I'm going to move somewhere else, which will be good. Maybe we'll work on her earring, which will be a lot of fun. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so we're moving down here. So we did this second one. We got this first bump here, and then we got this bump, which is relatively light. So we're going to go to our mid-tone brush. See how it's important to have that kind of color coordinated thing going? And so we're going to zoom in. And if you see zoomed in, it looks kind of crazy. But zoomed out, it looks pretty good. And like I said, it's my first pass. And the second pass will get better. But I'm giving it my all in the first pass. And that's a lighter color. I'm going to get some translucency in here. Here. And a lot of that is you're seeing her flesh underneath. And we'll come right in with the white. When I say white, I mean light. Definitely not white. And now we'll come in with nice dark. see what we can do here. Every painting is basically a stepping stone to your next painting. So with this painting, let's say I'm working on these ruffles. Well, next painting, I'm going to take what I learned from here that I'm working with ruffles, and I'm going to take it to that next level. And that's exactly the way every painting should be with us. So we're almost done with these ruffles. But I'm still going to slow it down because I'm getting excited that I'm almost done with the ruffles. And Mr. Dave says 8 hours of reading can give your life time worth of experiential knowledge if you choose the author right. Yes, definitely. 8 hours of reading can give your life full of experiential knowledge. So true. I just had a quote that I got from Bruce Lee, which was really great. And this is what he said: knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. And I think that's really important. You know, and that's my feeling, you know, it's like, you know, I learn a lot, and, you know, from other artists, and I do a lot of reading, but unless I apply it, then it's really not going to become part of what I'm doing. Like, case in point, I just love the work of some old masters, right? And I just love it. And I could love them all I want, but until I do a master copy, I'm really not going to experience them and their work in the way that's really going to help me. It's like I have to do what they're doing, and when I do that, that's when things really start happening for me, you know, and really learning. And I think that's the whole thing, is that, you know, it's the lab work, it's the stuff that we do that really is going to give you that. Now, books are amazing and they're so important, but like today this will be probably about a 10-hour day of painting. And people might say, well, 10 hours a day, does that hurt your airbrushing because you're not practicing? It helps my airbrushing because of all the knowledge of color and line and everything that I'm experiencing today is really coming to the forefront. So tomorrow, when I work in airbrush, I'm going to have all the knowledge from today's session. And it doesn't go to waste, trust me. It never goes to waste. Okay. Now I'm going to come back in with my yellow brush. Remember, yellow means the light color. And then I think we're going to move over to her. We're going to move on over to another area. Right here. In between the dark colors, we'll put some lights. Now how, this is also careful planning. I'm gonna actually create, since this candle's gonna be dark, I'm gonna create a light here, even though it's not in the picture. There we go. So let's zoom out and see how it looks. And you know, you can see how those ruffles are really looking real. Now I can go ahead and de-emphasize some of them by just kind of glazing a light value to do some de-emphasizing. Remember, we don't want we don't want too much of a contrast, right? So we have to calm down the contrast a little bit. Compression of values are so important. And remember, we're creating a painting, right? It's like directing a movie. So we want to make sure that there's not too much detail in areas that don't deserve it. Okay, so that's basically, so you can see how beautiful those ruffles are. And then I'm going to do another pass, but just really nice. And you can see how we have, you know, almost a purple magenta color here going into these oranges and yellows, which is really nice. So there's a lot of stuff going on with this portrait here. So let's go and move on to, yes, we're going to work on the earring. So in the center, it's like a pearl in the center, and it has some pearls going down from there. And Brad says it's looking great. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Astral says the way you did the detail on that lace was so quick, you think you did that before. And I slowed it down a lot, right? So it's funny you guys should say that. And thank you so much for the encouragement. You know, I really need it at times. I mean, this is some rough stuff. Now, this is a dark, so I'm going to figure out what the dark is of that earring, because I'm not just going to, whoop, okay, so this going into a new color, so we're just going to adjust here, so we're going to close this one out, and we're going to come in with the new color. There we go. Alright, so now we have to find out exactly what color. Oh, very good. Very interesting. I actually have this color on my palette right now, and we're just going to go ahead and go right in. So now we're working on, so we're going to be working on our dark brushes, right? So let's make this happen. I've been painting all day, so some of my color is actually starting to get tacky. So we're going to come in here. Okay, now we have our dark color, and I'm going to be using some of this Gamblin solvent-free gel, and let me get my reference. Okay, now I'm going to darken this first, and that's going to lighten up that pearl, something dramatic. So and so this earring is going to be a little bit darker. And we're setting up, you know? That's the whole thing. We're setting up. Now, here's a good trick. Q-tips are wonderful for oils, for everything, for airbrush. And let's say you see I went too far. I can maintain my drawing. I am probably going to wait for this paint to dry to come in with the specular highlights of that earring. And you know what? I really think that's a little bit strong. I don't want it that strong. I'm going to calm that down. That's too powerful. I don't want it to be about the earring, right? And Mr. Astral says you only forgot how the airbrush went. It's a Pache AB turbo that left stripped down for 6 months and forget how to dial it in and bend the darn needle in the process. Oh my goodness. So that was kind of a rough day, but you got it going though, right, sir? That's what's important. I actually have one of them. Where it is, I don't know, because I did move my studio recently. Okay, so we'll go right there, maybe a little wider here, make it even. And then just down below, we have a couple of the pearls here, a couple more pearls. Let's see, figure out what color that is. Okay, so the gist of the color before we come in with those highlights. Okay, so I see it, and now I just have to get the elements, and I think I have that on my, yes, okay, so this is kind of a light, so I'll use this. Okay, this is a tricky one. I don't want it to be too light. But I can always glaze over it, right? And glazing is when you glaze a darker color over a lighter color. But it has to be a transparent, right? So I'm already thinking about the ending. But I don't want to start out too light. And I'm very consciously going pretty dark here. And now I can take my darker color and I can come in with my darker flesh And we just want to make sure that we're matching. Close enough. And now we can kind of sculpt. Like so. Yes, glazed donuts. Not as fun as glazed donuts, but fun nonetheless. I love the, you know, and so Astral says, what paint are you using right now? So right now, the main brand I'm using is Williamsburg, but I'm also using a lot of Winsor and Newton. I always use the professional grade, right? You know, I don't ever use anything that says student or studio. You know, no matter what level you're at, you want to use good supplies. So it's so important, and I can't stress it. So I do use a lot of Williamsburg, which I love. That's a company out of New York State. And I also love a company called Winsor and Newton out of the UK. Hey, congratulations on the football team there, Astral. That is wonderful news, so congratulations. I got to say. So now, since I have this color here, oh, wow, Mr. Todd, thank you so much for more water since it's you know, I got quite a bit of water yesterday, so I appreciate that. Thank you, Todd, all the way from San Diego. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for your friendship and hanging out. It always means a lot to me. And how's the weather out there in San Diego, sir? You guys always have beautiful weather, though. Are you guys experiencing any heat, I should say? Now here I'm going to come in with some of them. So this is where, you know, having the brush system of the medium tone and the dark tone and the light tone. So I'm going to do that. I'm actually going to specifically buy brushes that have different colors for and use them for those reasons. Now, what I'm going to do, and this is going to be rough, but I'm going to come in with thicker paint. And so thank you so much again for the super chat, Mr. Todd. I really appreciate you, my friend. Now, when I'm looking at the color of this light, I got to make sure I don't go too light because, you know, it's definitely not white. But I do want to work thicker, I believe. And that's the great thing about, you know, working in oils is that, you know, you can go from thick to thin. You can go as thin as ink and you can go pretty thick like toothpaste. And I can always glaze this down here, so that's no problem. And like I said, you know, maybe, you know, if I'm off-white a color, I can always glaze this with a warmer color if I wanted. Warmer meaning more orange. than blue. So now I can come in with the beautiful highlight, specular highlight right here. These are the little things that kind of add up, you know, and that's so cool. Oh, 85 to 90, that's hot enough, right? So definitely feel your pain. It's been like 97 here, but today's been much better. So you vary, so there'll be areas where the light will just hit it just right and you'll get an almost white color. Right? And see how it just hits it so perfectly, the light at that angle, and you get this really white color that kind of just pops on one of her little jewels. No rhyme or reason. That's why artists over the century loved things like jewels, because it was a cheap way to make it look really good, you know? So right here on this edge here. Well, let's make this bigger. Okay. Well, we don't want to ignore here, so let's do some right here. Look how pretty her little jewel is. Not as pretty as her. And let's not forget, we keep forgetting right here. Now this little guy, this specializes in something like this. I'm really gonna make it pop here. Dun dun dun. There we go. Look at that. Just kind of explode there. Right there. And I'll exaggerate a little bit. Nothing wrong with that. Now here I want to bring in that shadow. You see how the reflected light kind of looks funky there? So I'm going to bring that dark down. So I'm going to use my dark right here. And I'm going to bring this down. Let's see how this works. And you want to make sure you have the same amount of warmth in there, right? Meaning, you know, same amount of orange and red in the mixture. See how I kind of calm that down a little bit. And obscure her ear. Her ear's in the shadow, thank goodness. That's one less thing we have to paint. I may indicate the ear a little bit later, depending on my mood, right? And so we do have a jewel on this side, just under her chin. And let's go ahead and attack that. Now I'm going to need this dark color around it, right? So I'm going to have to remix this dark blue, right? So let me go ahead and get that mixture. Now I'm getting these mixtures with my color theory method, and you can see how quickly I'm getting these colors, and that is really really important to be able to move around and get color mixtures Oh, have a great night, Wendy. Thanks so much for hanging out, and I really appreciate your encouragement. Thank you so much. And then Dave says, awesome, Todd. And Todd said he was on his phone but got off because his phone was going to die. Oh, cool. Now you're on your iPad. Thank God you have the backup. Astral says that earlobe will be well stretched with that purple hanging off of it. Yeah, that's for sure. Uh, Now, can I get away with not having that in there? That is, um, that's something that I have to really kind of think about. Now that I have that detail there, and I'm probably going to have to come in and work on that. So I don't think I'm going to get away with it, but that's okay. There is a little bit of a jewel right here. It's very ornate, but it really works now, and I think I may have to de-emphasize a little bit. Look how strong that is. It's a little too strong. So, and this is when, I'm going to come in. I'm going to use one of the light brushes here. I have to calm that down. There's no way around it. I can't live with it. So, see how dark it is? It's a little above and beyond. So I'm just gonna try to de-emphasize that dark a little bit. Let's see how it goes. And I'm going to de-emphasize it with the main color that is around her, and that is the dark flesh color. And I'm going to come back in, of course, with some more detail. But you can see how it's important to chill that out a little bit. That was a little wild. So I don't want it to be about, even though this is a beautiful piece of jewelry, I don't want it to be about that. So now let's go ahead and find that blue, right? So we have to find that blue, and so let me mix it. I think I don't think I need that. Look, I'm being like all bravado now, and so let's go ahead and get that color. And get my red and cobalt blue. You know what? I'm thinking cobalt blue, but my emotion is telling me Prussian blue. I love Prussian blue, and I always try to use it whenever I can. And I prefer Prussian blue. I just think it's a beautiful, beautiful color. So we're looking for that dark. And I have to make sure. And then I also need the light as well. Alright, so let's see if we have the color. If not, I'll make little adjustments. And we're going to go with the mid-tone color first. I want to make sure I got that dark blue here. Now I'm going outside of my color mixing method, and we'll see just if I could live without my color mixing. Oh, okay, we got it. Okay. So that's not bad. And Tim, what is your go-to for drinking water? Ah, interesting. I know it's not good, but I usually just do a water bottle since I'm always on the go. But I definitely should get one of those, those ones that you refill. Definitely. So I was able to mix that blue, guys, and so that's good. Pretty much on the money. And so, because I want to work on her jewelry, right? So I have to cut into it. So even when you're working in airbrush, you have to have the surrounding colors mixed. If you don't, it's going to come back to haunt you, you know? You're going to need to fix things and get those edges proper. And it's good because it helps you to refine and kind of make things. So I actually will have a painting in a gallery here in New Jersey this Friday, which is a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. It's my La Latina, which was the portrait of the woman with the magenta background, which I had a lot of fun in April and March. And I went ahead and framed it. Really, actually, I have this wonderful framer. She did an amazing job, and so that was really good. Now we have to hit the dark, right? Dun dun dun. And I have a new dark color here, and I can't believe I'm running out of time. This stinks. I'm really having fun. I hope you guys are having fun. If not, then that's not good. But I know I'm having fun hanging out with everybody. So here's the color. So my color mixing method, how it works is that it's so simple that after a while you actually, you know, it will teach you about color in the sense that, I hate to say it, but you won't need it after a while as much. I mean, you'll still need to refer to it, but it's so amazing that, you know, you'll find yourself mixing the colors because the techniques of color mixing is just repetitive. Anything that's repetitive, you're going to get better and better at. And when you're using the color theory, you're going to get the colors within a minute. And you can see today just how fast I got all the colors. I mean, it was no exaggeration. No exaggeration whatsoever. And it's great because you see now I'm forced to come back in with the dark, and I could reestablish the contour of her neck, which is wonderful. Astral says he gets variety that has passed down from 5 generations of Brits with a dash of chloride and fluoride. That's funny. And so that's cool. So I'm so happy that your family is growing and God is blessing you. Steve, I think it's wonderful. Now, are you going to see your grandchild? Is it a granddaughter or grandson? I think I heard daughter. I just want to make sure. And it's interesting now that, you know, I'm forced to come back in here. I can see that the pane of the glass actually comes over and creates this beautiful contrast here, and I really love it. And we can zoom out and we can see how she's coming, right? I should be done with her by next live stream, so I don't think this is going to be on the live streams in the future, but definitely something that I'm really happy to share with you all. And I'll be doing other oil paintings and stuff like that. And it really worked out because now I could really accentuate the contour of her mentalis, or chin in layman's terms. Okay, so now we have that, and we're going to take the same colors that we had before. We'll go back to our mid-tone brushes, right? Trust me, you guys are going to have so much fun when it comes to using airbrush and using it as an underpainting for your oil paints. And the barrier of entry is really surprisingly inexpensive. And even with the good brands that I use, uh, and with my technique, which is coming up, right? I'm going to be working with, you know, getting my color mixing method out there, and it will help you get precise color color matches within minutes, regardless of what level you're at. I mean, we're talking beginner. Brad says she's looking great, Tim. Thanks for another great live stream. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Brad. Thank you for the super chat, my friend, and hanging out. I appreciate you so much. And so, let me zoom in here. And we're still in the mid-tones here. And then we'll come in with some darks and some highlights to make this sort of pop. And with jewels, you don't have to be super super specific. Actually, you can be quite you can abbreviate things a lot. So here goes. Let's see. There we go. And I know women love jewels. Put some of these specular highlights back here. There we go. And there we are, 11:30. So, thank you so much for the super chat, Mr. Todd. Always a pleasure. And don't let the weather get to you too much, Todd. Thanks so much for hanging out. Thank you, Mr. Dave. Always a pleasure. Steve Leahy, Astral, you guys are great. So I really appreciate you, Bobby. Bobby says, awesome, sir. I appreciate that. And yes, definitely. So that's cool. I hope to meet you guys. And thank you, Colette, for the super chat. And who else? And thank you so much, Brad. So you guys are great. Mark and Wendy, and we had Dan here, and Raul, and just so many different people. I just want to thank everyone. Have a great week. Stay cool. And Dave, especially you out there in Texas. I know it's pretty hot out there. And again, thank you for spending your Wednesday evening with me. It is totally my honor. So this is her so far, and I hope to talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.